So, I've made a few FNAF videos now, as you may have noticed. I've only really tackled the Pizzaplex era of FNAF, and that's just because it's the era I have the most attachment to, and have the most experience with. And I figured that now that I've done a lot of them, it was time to go back and touch upon some of them with info I now have that I didn't at the time. Let's begin with... So, major thing here is drowning. Now, as I said in my Gregbot video, I have some of the books now, and drowning it's not about Cassidy. Stop trying to say it is. It screams more mimic and agony, if anything. I wouldn't say agony exactly, but in Frights, we learn that any emotion can really manifest itself. It's just agony has the easiest time doing so because it's the most powerful. And a big part of the story is Kara having to confront her fear. As we see throughout the book, she is constantly... She tries to ignore her fear, she tries to go on with that. But it also screams at me a little bit of, mimic. The creature is described as looking like Peggy, to the point where she doesn't know if it's Peggy or not. So it's, it's Kara's emotions or it's Glitch Trap, because remember those audio CDs? Glitch Trap was in the system before Mimic 1 managed to get in, I think it was. Most of the story is about how she feels with fear, or standing up to it, but then there's also the weird feeling she gets from being scanned. It's pretty clear to me that Kara somehow formed the Peggy entity in drowning. If you want to argue with me on this one, please read the book first. And let me just point out some specific lines that made me come to this conclusion, such as, "Sure," she said, glancing down at the stand on the black X marks on the red carpet. As she stood in place, the blue light went down her body. An odd feeling rolled over her with the light, and she slowly blinked. The room seemed to slightly move under her feet. Must be getting hungry, she thought, as the girls chose a chair to buckle themselves in, showing that when she was digitally scanned, she already fell off. Something was wrong. Maybe this is when the Peggy virus managed to make its way inside. I have a video that untails at a later point. I'm still reading through Tales books, and I'm hoping that when I get to go home at some point and have some free time, I'd be able to read more of them. But ultimately, people who say this about Cassidy are doing nothing more than what the people who say classics ads like how they died because it was in the book is, they're lying. Except nobody has really properly read through the book, so they won't argue back. And yeah, my interpretation of drowning really is that Kara somehow manifested this Peggy virus thing, or Mimic 1 somehow managed to digitally consciousness transfer into her brain or something. Because come the end of drowning, she does look like the drowning girl, so there is something supernatural going on. But again, we've got to remember that Frights did say any emotion can act like this. Agony just has the easiest time doing so. And if you want to argue Dr. Talbot didn't know what he was talking about with other emotions because of the whole Wraith thing, then you also have to admit that anything else he ever said on Agony and Remnant to begin with is pure bullshit. And I know the building looks old thing is going to be brought up, but if this is Mimic, then using the excuse of Cassidy came from the 80s immediately applies to the Mimic by default. Drowning isn't a slam dunk case like most people seem to think it is. This is very much a case of, well, this leaker said it was like that, so I went into the book with the mindset of it being like that. Drowning isn't a perfect story. There's a lot of time just wasted on Kara walking around. But I do think for a lot of people, they were too focused on the mindset of, okay, this one leaker said this is how it's going to be, so let's go into it and try and find it like that. Which has happened before with other Tales books, like remember Epilogue 7? Ooh, Mimic has a corpse attached to him. Oops, actually it just literally slides off in the next book. Oops. And now for the OMC-shaped elephant in the room. But let's answer a question with a question. Why is Princess still called Princess? If you use Old Man Consequences in the files of Help Wanted 2 to try and boost your theory, you have to acknowledge that Princess is still Princess. And you don't get to use the excuse of throwing it away as, oh, they reused the assets from Security Breach and forgot to rename it. Because they made a 3D model of Princess and still called her Princess. This isn't them just reusing files and forgetting to change the name in the chaos of development or whatever. This was a deliberate move, along with other things like Help Trap and whatever. That shows us that they really do know we're going into the files. So why would they rename All My Consequences to All My Consequences, confirming that little fan theory, but still keep Princess Princess? There is something else going on here, and people who think that Old Man Consequences is only attached to Cassidy, they need to step back and realize we're not doing that, okay? If you're going to use Old Man Consequences for your Cassidy theory, then you have to. And I swear to God, I am going to make sure of this if I ever see this. You have to point out how the princess was called Princess. You don't get to do that. You don't get to just go, oh, Old Man Consequences, theory confirmed, and then ignore the bigger thing here. Sorry about that little rant, but ever since the game came out, I've been seeing this whole thing of Old Man Consequences proves it's Cassidy Princess. Or Princess Cassidy or whatever. But then the princess still got Princess, and they always try to, like, I don't know, either ignore that or walk around with reused assets. You know how it is sometimes. And then there's also the fact that the princess just gives the fuck up in Princess Quest 4. Like, she's like, oh damn, I can't do this. Here you go, Cassie's dad. Like, come on, guys. This is meant to be Cassidy? Of course, if you go with, oh, it's not Vengeful Cassidy because frights, then sure, maybe this is how Cassidy just acts. But with that Into the Pit trailer coming out and showing already clear differences from the book, yet claiming itself to be the next chapter of FNAF or whatever I've heard people calling it as, we're starting to see more and more cracks form in Fright and Stitchline games. Because those cracks are starting to emerge now. Let's go on to the next theory, shall we? I don't have much to say on this. First, Brazil uses the Princess Quest as its base, which is more evidence for the Princess Quest being the true ending, as all it does otherwise is remove evidence for Gregbot, which thank God it does that. So, while I was writing this script, Help Wanted 2 came out. Yes, I am that far behind. This video took forever to make just because of how much chaos was caused because of Help Wanted 2 coming out. And our main hub world is Burn Trap Slayer, and definitely not burnt down here like the Burn Trap ending would have it. The hole the blob's in is here, but the blob is missing. This game takes place after Security Reach, thanks to Roxy's new fucking face we'll get to. And then with Ruin showing us the whole, you know, Burn Trap's layer not having been broke down, we really are just in that Princess Quest is the canon ending, and there is no secondary ending that's also maybe kind of canon. Another thing as well is, you know, is Princess Quest 4. Remember how these things worked in the main game? You only got to play 2 when you beat 1, you only got to beat 3 when you beat 2. Why would 4 break the timeline there? We really do seem to be... I mean, Help Wanted 2 just straight up hard confirmed it was Princess Quest with this stuff. It's undeniably the only canon ending. Where is Burn Trap? We still don't know. I really do think we're kind of leaning towards Burn Trap being a drop plot point, and Glitch Trap being the one we're going with, considering how much of Glitch Trap is in Help Wanted 2, but Burn Trap just doesn't exist. Closest we get is Glitch Trap mimicking the, you know, Burn Trap escapes. He was grabbing the thing and then pulling himself out during the Help Trap ending. But in all truth, that could just be Steel. We're going, yes, Glitch Trap is Burn Trap, let's move on already. Yeah, we're just at the point where Princess Quest is the one and only canon ending. That's it. Help Wanted 2 is basically screaming it by having our main hub world be Burn Trap's lair, you know, the FNAF 6 place, and showing us it isn't at all destroyed. And if you're gonna try and argue something like, oh, but don't forget that Tango was only in the Burn Trap ending, please go back to preschool on how object permanence works. Because then, oh, well, the scooper under the pizza plate shouldn't exist. That isn't how these things work. There are multiple messages building up to Burn Trap, as MatPat pointed out. Not to Burn Trap, to Tangle, damn it. Yeah, Princess Quest is the undeniable one and only canon ending. This isn't me just spitballing ideas or pointing to what has the most evidence to it. This really is just the direction we're going. That's it. And what's next? Okay, let's deal with this one. This is definitely my most popular FNAF theory, and I completely get why. Literally opening it with screaming, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, debate over. Gotta have been one of the biggest power moves I ever did. But when it comes to this thing, Help Wanted 2 doesn't solve it like most people seem to think it does. With Princess Quest now being the one and only canon ending, which we can definitively say, like, it's borderline confirmed with how much stuff we have around this. Freddy being in Fazer Blast, you really do just have to make shit up for how he got there and where the body of regular Freddy went. You really do just have to make shit up to make that work. And yes, Roxy got a new metal face, good for her, but stuff like Monty's teeth still have no explanation. Maybe if Monty was in Help Wanted 2 that would get an explanation, but he wasn't. And Eclipse having that random Faz part on the back of his head still has no explanation. Sure, Roxy's metal face was given an explanation, but just because one design change got an explanation doesn't mean all of them suddenly have some big theory. Like, how do you explain where Monty grew teeth from? Now, I'm sitting here and I want somebody to tell me where he just grew teeth from, knowing that this is how he ends up. And, you know, Ruin also did random shit like put the catwalks under the daycare theater, which, unless Monty Golf just went down 3 fucking layers, that isn't where it is. If anything, the catwalks are about where the party rooms are, and that's being generous. If anything, they seem to be in around the same location as a place like El Chip are, or at least very close to that. So Ruin really did just change a bunch of stuff for no real reason. And when it comes to Prototype Freddy, Help Wanted 2's Freddy not having Prototype on his foot, sure, that could mean something. If anything but his damn arms and a head, like anything from the torso down, actually moved. In the one minigame with Glamrock Freddy, his legs do not move. And plus, a lot of these models are just reused from Security Breach. Like, say, Chica's model in some of the minigames and Roxy's model in the minigames, directly ripped from Security Breach for some altered things. So if they just ripped his model from Security Breach, why would the prototype stamp be on the bottom spot, especially when we can't see it anyway? And yes, there is still stuff like, oh, the green present, but like, I don't know, Gregory was already getting into the stomach catch with the present. It's a valid point, but we still gotta remember stuff like, again, Monty's teeth, and how they really do come out of nowhere. Although, while making this video, there was this one comment I saw, it's under that video if you want to go look for it, where it says that maybe Glamrock Freddy was like some AR hallucination thing like the plush babies were. And that would be a really interesting take, if we didn't already know that's not how that worked. And Princess Quest wasn't the canon ending. Right now, with Princess Quest being the one and only canon ending, if you're gonna say the prototype isn't Glam Freddy, you're going to have to explain the series of events that led to Glamrock Freddy's body being removed, Shattered Prototype ruined whatever Freddy showing up and having the same damage as Shattered Freddy did back in the Princess Quest ending, and on the model we know we can see, and how we got into Fazablast. Stuff like him being on a pile of staff bots, which wasn't there in the original ending. I can give that a little pass because of the workstations that ID's Fantasy pointed out, and, you know, great on her for that. That's like, I actually really didn't notice that. But with them only having one shell, and that being why Monty was souped up instead of just replacing Bonnie, we really are at a point where this is just Glamrock Freddy. That's it. It's Glamrock Freddy. The prototype is Glamrock Freddy, but just at a point where any other option requires you to, I don't know, bite of 95 this or whatever the hell I would make up. You have to make up such random stuff, and you do have to make it up. Once again, yay, I'm getting really passionate about this goddamn bear, but this was the video that blew me up, so I'm gonna keep defending it. Until somebody can provide me real, clear-cut evidence that this is not Prototype, that can't be explained with them dragging the model from one place to another, then sure, I'll take that. Stuff like the green present box, that's something I can't ignore. But I rebut that with Monty's grown teeth and the daycare attendant's paw on the back of his head. Once those get some explanations, then yeah, I will bend over and say, alright, sure, Prototype's a different bot, but until somebody can do that, can't really say it is, especially when Help Wanted 2 does more to confirm it's a different bot than to say it isn't. Again, Princess Quest ending being basically confirmed there. And next is... well, I can't say I have a lot to add on to this video. I will be adding in a Google Doc from my friend who put together a document of evidence why they think Mimic did it. And while I don't agree, I can't ignore the dedication that went into this, and it has some actually sound reasoning. So go check it out, it's some neat stuff, I'll put it in the description. Yeah, this was completely wrong and I'll own up to it. But in my defense, we couldn't have known just from Ruin, given that the way Ruin actually describes the security system you know, with it being pretty damn accurate to how other security systems work with the nodes and all that. Nexus just being a fucking lapdog didn't seem realistic, and some of the evidence I used for that, like the black powder of Glitch Trap, has now been given new context with the Help Wanted 2, with Vanny compressing down Glitch Trap into a black powder, and then that black powder appearing outside of a Princess Quest machine. You know, I get that. You know, yeah, this is one where I'll fully admit, I was wrong, I'm sorry, but if everybody's saying this was completely obvious from Ruin, they're not entirely right either. This is one of those times where Help Wanted 2 really did just go out of its way to bust a theory by showing us Glitch Trap being killed. Alright, final one. Nothing from Help Wanted 2 actually said anything on this topic, other than reaffirming that Gregory was a mimic slave at some point. We're still at a point where Gregbot has no story behind it. And for stuff like Vanessa being a robot, now that we have Vanny around, back again after Princess Quest ending, I'll admit it has a slight bit more credibility. I don't believe it, but if they would say that Vanny and Vanessa aren't the same person and one was a robot of the other, I mean, the stuff there that makes it work. Unlike with Gregory, where in Ruin, they kept on breaking down everything they could that pointed to it. So what's the next video? Right now I have a few ideas, but I'm thinking going down the line of Nightmare On, as I want to talk about what she really means. When complaining about me using she for Nightmare On, stop using he for UCN, that's proof that it's Andrew, and then we can talk, as it's the same debate. But until then, take care. Bye!